Um, it's pretty early and I'm still working on my coffee, so forgive me if I'm a little bit slow. I'm still kind of waking up. I'm just going to go over how I like to dodge and burn today. It's pretty simple. There's many ways to dodge and burn, but the one that I have currently found to work best for my kind of work is simply using the dodge and burn tool over here. Um, I'm currently on burning, and if I hold it down, I can see the dodge and the burn. Sponge will soak up any saturation, so we're not going to work with that today. I like to start with burning, and I have my exposure up here at 14, so it's not too dark, and I can kind of build on that. My brush is soft. Size is just, I have it at a little bit of a bigger size because I have a big area to work with. And I chose this image because it's a little bit hazy from my sun flare that I got, which is fine. I like that. That's kind of a little bit of my style. I just want to make my subject stand out more and the balloons she's holding. So I'm in the shadows range. Midtones, I'll go over that in a second. We're going to keep it at shadows. And I'm just going to start building right over my balloons here. And you can kind of see I've got some overspray on my background. And a little bit is fine, but just to make sure that we're not getting a weird black shadow around these balloons, I'm just going to make my brush a tiny bit smaller so that we don't mess up our photo. Okay, I think my balloons are built pretty good. And this is kind of building our hands too. So now we're going to scroll in on her. So the thing you have to watch out for when you're using your shadows is that obviously don't build too much, but also if my subject is pretty light and exposed like this is, shadows can sometimes pull orangey tones or red, and you don't want too much of that. See, if I build here, it starts to get a little bit orange. So we're just going to go undo that. So that's where we can take our shadows and just gently build up where we want to. Making sure that we don't have overspray onto our background. And also you don't want to go too crazy with this because you don't want it to look unnatural. I didn't use a flash, so this is kind of my way of recovering some detail. Alright, so this is looking okay. And I'll show you now where midtones come in. If you are pulling a lot of orange or red, you can go into your midtones, and this will darken without pulling those reds, but it will darken other areas of the image as well. Like if I come here, it will darken that because it's getting those midtones. It's not darkening just the shadows. And obviously if you go to highlights, it will darken your highlights or dull it down a little bit. We're going to erase that. But everything looks pretty good. I think I'm just going to use the midtones and darken up her hair a little bit because it's a little bit gray and I want her hair to be nice and dark and true to color. Okay, so after I go in with my midtones, just darkening up those areas that couldn't darken with the shadows, I will go back in with my shadows and go over that, so now it will pull a little bit darker. You see how it really darkened up there, but I actually don't like that, so. And her hair is darkening up nicely as well. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm actually going to take this and just kind of pull the shadows from this, well, whatever you would call it. Not entirely sure what it was. And again, it is morning, so I don't have an explanation for a lot of things. Okay, so that just kind of helped pull that out from my sun flare, so I like that. And I'm capturing a little bit more of the highlights in there as well. Just really trying to make sure it's all even, otherwise some things can start to look unnatural. Okay, so she looks pretty good. So we're on burning, and we're just going to hold down and click on our dodge tool. Now dodge is something you have to be careful with. You don't want to over dodge, because if you see that, that looks very unnatural. It looks a little bit strange. So the key is to highlight where it naturally highlights. If you need to reduce your exposure up here, that's fine. I usually keep it in the mid-tones when I am highlighting. If you see shadows, it will really lighten up your shadows. Highlights, it just gets way too glowy, and I'm just not looking for that look. So we're going to keep it pretty gentle, just going on our midtones. I like to have a lot of overspray with this. And I have a bigger brush. We're just going to lightly build on her natural highlights. You see how that's much better than just like taking one big solid line and going through there. And we're just building on our highlights. I do like to get the elbow right here. That's usually where there's a lot of light coming from. Her hands right here, and a little bit on her arms. So see, that's looking pretty good. I'm starting to get an effect that almost looks like I used a flash, which is kind of my goal. Alright, we're going to highlight here, just really gently where you see natural highlights. And a little bit on her face. I do want to bring out her face a little bit more, so I'm just pulling the highlights from there. Don't forget about her hands right here. Let's get her hands up here too. That's looking really nice. She's actually starting to come out from our photo a little bit more, starting to stand out. And that's our goal with dodge and burn, is just helping your subject come out of the photo a little bit more so that they're not totally flat. And we're going to make this really big. Just go over her dress right here. That looks great. Perfect. And anywhere that you feel, dodge and burn is also a great way to even out skin tone. If you saw what I just did there, there's a little bit of a dark patch here, and I just took and lightened it up, and that kind of helped even out her skin tone a bit. I've already ran my skin softening action. If you're wondering where I got that from, I can run it through on another time, but usually if you YouTube skin softening with, I use high frequency separation, you can get a lot of videos for that. I think that completes it. I'm just going to go over my balloon a little bit because I want my highlights in there to really stand out. And we can even go up here and pull some highlights in the wood, just to give it that really nice glowy effect. Alright, the last step I'm going to do, in this photo anyway, just since I'm here, just going to take my sharpening tool and sharpen this up a little bit. just because with sun haze, sometimes you kind of get not a totally sharp image. I like the look of it though, what I was going for, so I'm okay with that. But sometimes it just helps pull out a little bit more detail. Alright, but that completes my dodge and burn for today. So I hope you get something from this, and if this way works for you, excellent. If it's not entirely something you want to do for every photo, there are plenty of other dodge and burn tutorials. This is just my favorite way of doing it. Thank you guys for watching.